What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. If you guys are new to the channel, do me a favor and hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content we have coming out. And with this video, we are jumping into DC vs. Vampires issue number 2. Now, if you didn't catch issue number 1, go ahead, check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It will get you completely caught up on everything going on with this new horror line. And what we are seeing is the war for the very survival of the human race begin. A mysterious new vampire lord has taken over and has put a plan in motion to take out all of humanity. And it all starts with Green Lantern Hal Jordan. But the world's greatest detective is about to be on the case. And so with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright gang, so as we dive into issue number 2, we are picking up with Antone Arcane, a very powerful mage, sitting here in meditation, letting Hal Jordan know that there is no way he could ever sneak up on him. So why is he hiding in the shadows? With Hal Jordan letting him know that he knows there is no way he could ever sneak up on him, he simply does not care. And we see Hal Jordan go in with a full attack, with Arcane doing everything he can to prevent Hal Jordan getting toe-to-toe with him, no matter how powerful his magic is. Right now, Hal Jordan Green Lantern, his willpower is stronger than ever, and he breaks through every line of defense the mage throws at him. And we see Hal Jordan rip out the spine of Arcane. And what Hal Jordan is doing is taking out mages, taking out magic users, because that is something that can be used against the vampires. But what Hal Jordan did not know is that his master was in the room. Staying in the shadows, we do not see who this is, but Hal Jordan, he drops to his knees as soon as he hears his master's voice, being completely submissive to whoever this is. But our vampire lord lets us know that we're getting away from those kind of formalities. But the vampire lord is here for a reason, and that is because they have a problem. That problem being Andrew Bennett, the individual that left the letter for Batman, letting him know of this pending vampire invasion. And right now, they have absolutely no clue where he is. And the concern right now is that he is going to divulge all of the information about this vampire attack. And he tells Hal Jordan that he needs to ensure that all of the superheroes, they remain distracted, just in case he has told anybody and those rumors become roars. Ensure that the Justice League has complete distrust in one another, because the last thing they need is the wrong person figuring out who they are. And that is what will take us to Wayne Manor. And instead of meeting inside of the cave, Batman has called the Bat family to the main sunroom. And that is because after receiving that letter, he is now suspicious of everybody. But to combat this vampire invasion that may be on the horizon, he's going to need all hands on deck. And so bringing them to the sunroom, it helps him prove that they are not vampires. And with everybody being in the sunlight, he starts to divulge the information that he has gotten, telling them about the letter, telling them about Andrew Bennett. He tells them about how there was a coup in the vampire leadership. And because of that coup, the truce that they have had for over a century, it doesn't look like it is going to hold any longer. And if this were the case, if there is a new Lord of Vampires, the first act would be to remove any of the coverts or remove any metahumans that they could. Now, they don't really have any direct evidence just as yet, but it's looking like villain activity is down everywhere. And that could be because they're targeting low-end villains, lowering the crime rate. Because if you're going to take over metahumans, if you're gonna go for the Justice League, you need to be able to infiltrate the Justice League, even from the lowest levels, working your way up, so that none of them can see it coming. And this is where we pick up with Oliver Queen, and he is confronting some low-level villains, as well as Everyman. And he has come to let them know that there are vampires running rampant through the criminal underworld, taking out low-level vampires, and he lets them know that there is a vampire among them, that vampire being Everyman. With Everyman whipping out his fangs, he goes in to attack Oliver Queen. With him drawing his arrow back and unleashing it, he puts him down, and he lets the rest of them know that they are no longer safe and they need to start preparing for the war that is about to come. Now, back at Wayne Manor, they're discussing the best way to figure out who they're gonna go after first. Now, of course, they know it's going to be metahumans. Most likely, it's going to be villains first, because they go underground for prolonged time, trying to hide away from any kind of heat after they do a job or something of that nature. If they go missing for a couple of weeks, it's not really going to be noticed. They would also need to take out any telepaths and psychics, anything that could find out the limits of their plans, to find out what their true intentions actually are. Not only that, they are going to be targeting magic users as well. Being susceptible to sunlight, they are going to be targeting individuals like Ray and Dr. Light. Not only that, they are going to be targeting all of the younger individuals. They'll have to start making inroads into the superhero community. They'll do everything they can to infiltrate them. They may already have members in the Titans, in the Outsiders, the Birds of Prey, but Batman believes that getting to a Justice League member in the early stages would probably be very too difficult, and so they're gonna target the younger ones. The younger ones will eventually get the bigger guys, not knowing at this time that Hal Jordan has already been turned. A major key player is already on the enemy side. And with Red Hood asking the question, if anybody can be a vampire, then who do we trust? And of course, it being Batman, he does not trust anybody, because he had holy water put in all of their cocoa, their tea, anything that they were drinking. He is ensuring that they are not vampires. And after doing that test, he takes them down into the Batcave, and he has one last test for them. Grabbing a crucifix, he hands one to each of them, ensuring that it does not burn their skin when they touch it. And we see him reveal his wall of vampire hunting equipment. Everything that you could possibly imagine to bring down a vampire. Now, usually there's a no-kill rule, but that rule is being lifted because the vampires, they have already been turned. They are already dead, and there is no reversing it. Now, what he is not disclosing to anybody else is that there could possibly be a cure to all of this, and that is Lex Luthor's blood. And a little later that evening, Alfred asked the very question, why did you not tell them about that vial? Why didn't you tell them about Lex Luthor's blood and the possibility of it being a cure for vampirism? And he lets them know, even after all of the tests that he has done, he does not trust that information with anybody that is not inside this room. Alfred being the one individual he trusts. Not only that, he's been testing him as well by having the house's water switched out with holy water. So when Alfred had taken a shower, it would have burned him right there on the spot if he in fact was a vampire. Now that's where we pick up later on that evening, and we have a meetup of our Green Lantern Hal Jordan and Barry Allen, aka The Flash. And Hal Jordan has asked him here to this secluded location to have a conversation. And really it's a little bit of rambling until he tells him that something good has happened to him. The best thing that could have ever happened to him, it has happened. And he really wanted Barry Allen to be a part of this. And in the midst of this conversation, he uses the power of the Green Lantern ring and he entraps Barry Allen right here on the spot, telling him that he tried to argue for him, but his new lord simply could not have a speedster on the forces of the vampires. And it's simply because of his metabolism, because of his speed. It would be an absolute genocide. He would have an undying thirst that he would have to feed over and over and over again. He would literally drink this planet to death. And though Hal Jordan, he proclaims that he did everything he could to argue for him, even when he knew that this is something that could not happen, he still tried to argue, because at the end of the day, he still sees them as those friends, the ones that have cared about one another, the ones that have been there fighting side by side after all of these years. Now, while he's going on this whole monologue, we see Barry Allen, he phases. But the thing is, he stops phasing. He stops phasing so he can try to reach out to Hal Jordan, to tell him that he doesn't need to do this, that this is not him. But in a split second, we see Hal Jordan break the neck of Barry Allen. And with the death of the Flash, he lets him know that he really did want to rule the world with him. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys are thinking down in the comments. All in all, I didn't hate this issue until it got to the end, until it got to the Flash, and the way they took him down was just absolutely despicable. Like, don't get me wrong, Barry Allen and Hal Jordan, they're great friends. But as soon as he recognized that he was a vampire, Barry Allen would not simply stop phasing. After realizing that Hal Jordan is more than likely going to kill him right here, Barry Allen would not put himself in a situation where he could be killed like this. And he is definitely 10 times faster than Hal Jordan could ever move, could ever think about moving. Faster than he could ever create any light construct. And so what you're trying to tell me is that Barry Allen the Flash simply gave up his life because he didn't want to hurt his friend. And I think at the very least, Barry Allen would have ran away. Now, they're still not divulging how Hal Jordan ever got bit by a vampire, how it is even possible for a Green Lantern to be turned into a vampire. We have no backstory, we have no understanding of any of that yet. We don't know who this new Dark Lord is. The only thing we know is that Batman is now hot on the trail, and as it stands, they do not know that yet, so it is going to work to his advantage. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you have not yet, do me a favor, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content we have coming out, and until the next breakdown.